Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Caleb Blake's Books. Today I have another book review for you, and that is for The Tale of Desperaux by Kate DiCamillo. This will probably be a fairly short review because this is a fairly short book. I think when I looked it up it said it was around 30,000 words, so it's not particularly long. So I might not have a lot to say about this book, but I decided to read this because a while ago I was going through my things at my parents' house and just looking for something random. I can't even remember what it was, and stumbled upon some of my old books that I had when I was a kid, and this was among them. And I wanted to reread this book because I read this book, I want to say I would have been in second or third grade. Probably would have been, I don't know, 8 years old or so maybe. And we had to read this book for school, and I loved it. And I loved it so much that one of my family members got it for me, and I never actually read it again, but I always wanted to have it in case I ever did want to read it again. And I remembered loving this book a lot when I read it as a kid, hence why I wanted to have my own copy of it. And so I thought it would be fun to go back to it all these years later and read it again and see what I think of it nowadays. And I went into it expecting that, it might be kind of a fun, revisit of a book that I loved as a kid. It might be just kind of a nice, easy, enjoyable experience of reading this book. However, I did not expect this book to hit me as hard as it did. This is, I would say, one of the most impacting books that I have read this year, which is impressive considering, it's 30,000 words, it's a children's book. It's nothing that crazy, but this book really hit me deeply on an emotional level that books rarely manage to do. And so I really enjoyed this book a lot. So not a whole lot to talk about with this one really, but this is the story of a mouse named Desperaux who is very dissimilar from other mice. He's small, he is not very interested in doing kind of the normal mice stuff, kind of is in some ways doesn't conform to the usual standards of mouse society or whatever. And he lives in this castle and ends up falling in love with the princess one day. And because he has gone and exposed himself to the princess and is not fit to be a mouse, is basically exiled from his people, or mice, whatever you'd call it. And then there's also a couple other characters here who kind of go through some somewhat similar things and things like that. And this book, to me, feels very fairy tale-ish in a lot of ways. First of all, it has just that tone and that feel that your typical fairy tale kind of story might have. Also, the writing style of this I really enjoyed. It's very storyteller kind of thing, where the writer will break the fourth wall quite a lot and directly address the reader, which I really liked. And the way it's told, it just feels like the author is telling you, the reader, a story, which is something I really appreciated about this book. It really added to kind of the enjoyability of the book for me. And also adds to the fairy tale feeling for me. And the book just has, it is very thematically driven, I think, which also kind of contributes to that for me, which is something I also really enjoyed about it. This book has some very simple but very strong and very poignant themes to it, of heroism, of courage, of love, of forgiveness, all kinds of things like that are woven into the story in a way, and with all the different characters, which there's not a huge amount of characters in this book, but the kind of three primary, or I guess four primary characters of this book, and the way that their stories weave together is amazingly done, first of all, but also is extremely thematically significant. They all build on each other's stories in a way that feels thematic, in a way that feels impactful. There are echoes of one character's story in another in terms of either the way that their story has gone, in the way that the events they've encountered have affected them, in terms of the way that things resolve, whatever it may be. It's very well done and very impactful, I think, in the way that is done. This is one of those cases where it's as I was reading it, granted this is, a children's book, so it's, relatively simple story-wise, but I was really impressed by the way that each of the kind of sub-storylines of this book all weave together really, really well into something that just really has a big impact because of how well everything converges, because of how thematic that it all is. So I really enjoyed that about this book as well. This book also has some artwork in it, which I'm going to show you just a little bit of. It's not like artwork that I was like absolutely like in love with necessarily, but it is good artwork, and it is by Timothy Basil Earing, which I'm trying to find a piece of artwork right now, and I can't. There's a decent piece of artwork there for you. So it has some artwork throughout the book depicting different events within it, which is very nice as well. But that really is most of what I have to say about this book. Like I said, it's a short book. There's not a lot to it. It's very simple. It's a very simple, straightforward kind of story. But I think it's one that really has a big impact. And it's one that, like, is kind of weird for me to say, but by the very end of this book, I was almost in tears because of how much this book impacted me. Like, just everything from the story, which is very simple, but very touching, very, just had a lot of impact for me, to the themes, which I found extremely affecting in the way that, the way that I got them. Like, the themes of this book were just done so well, and also just had such a big impact on me, because even though they're simple themes, and themes that, are relatively, I don't know if generic's the right word necessarily, but, forgiveness, love, courageousness, whatever it may be, like, those are pretty simple, straightforward, normal kinds of themes for books like this to have, but just everything about this book thematically worked for me in a way that was profoundly impactful for me, and I really loved the experience of reading this book. It was a joy to read. I had a blast reading it. And in addition to that, just had a big emotional impact, and kind of had that sense of childlike wonder to it, and that sense of just, this happened as well with another book that I've reviewed recently with Legends and Lattes. I read these basically back to back, and much like that book, this one just felt like a warm hug of just comfort and not to really spoil or anything necessarily, but the book ends basically with essentially a message from the author saying that stories are light, and that they hope that this book was a light for you. And I just found that to be like the best way to wrap up my feelings about this book. So I guess that's all I've got to say about it. So as far as a rating out of 10, I'd give Tale of Desperaux, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. Which is surprising to me. I did not expect to end up with a rating like that for this book, but I really loved it. Had a great time reading this book, so I would definitely recommend this. It is written for a younger audience. It is a simple book, but if you are able to pick it up, I would very much recommend doing so. It's a very quick read, but is one that I think is well worth it. So that's pretty much it for my review. Let me know in the comments if you have read The Tale of Desperaux. Maybe you read it when you were younger like I did. Maybe you read it when you were older. Whatever it may be, let me know down in the comments. And that's pretty much it for this video. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.